Well, I do work with a lot of venture-backed tech startups, and they move so quickly that it's not feasible or possible to plan that far in advance because things are always changing and launching and developing. And it's really hard to plan in advance and have content still be relevant and accurate at a point in the future. And so if your business is of the same nature where things are constantly changing, growing, doing new things, it might not be possible for you to look farther ahead. In that case, I would say it might be better to focus on the weekly or bi-weekly planning that you're focusing on, so that way you can account for those timely last minute things. But regardless of whether your business moves quickly or it doesn't, I think it is still important as you're batching to account for those last minute timely pieces of content that you want to make sure that you get up. For example, if you're on a podcast like this and you get an email one day that the episode goes live, you don't want to wait 3 months to promote that episode. You want to be able to have flexibility within your schedule to promote it sooner rather than later. So I think it kind of, even if you are batching, there does kind of have some flexible component to it to add things in as they come through. But ultimately, it really comes down to coming up with a schedule that makes the most sense for what you're offering.
In order for you to have a successful business, you need to have the visibility, the awareness, the brand awareness. And how can you really get that in a way that's quick, efficient, and, let's be real, free, unless you're doing ads? That's social media, right? Social media. It's so fun. No? That's all right. I get it. Having the time, the resources, and the motivation to actually show up on social media can be a big challenge. And that's why I have Ashley here today. She's going to tell us a little bit about herself, why this topic matters to her, and why it should matter to you. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shauna. I'm so excited to be here. As Shauna briefly mentioned, I am the founder of Dash of Social, which is a Massachusetts-based content marketing agency that supports small to medium-sized businesses and tech startups with organic social media management, blogging, email marketing, and overall marketing strategy. I'm super excited to be talking about social media today. It's such an important topic for me because of the fact that probably quite literally almost everyone in the world has social media, which is why it's so important to be there as a business. And oftentimes it's the first place that potential clients or customers will check before deciding to purchase your product or invest in your service. So being able to have a consistent, value-driven online presence is hugely important for being able to show who you are, what you do, and how you can help.
Oof, look at her go. Man, oh man. And this is why you're here. Because this is the kind of concise, directive information that we need as business owners. I love that to bits and pieces. Now, that said, I did mention how time, resources, and of course, motivation can be a huge inhibiting factor to showing up on social media, even when we know the value of doing so. So where do you usually start with your clients when it comes to this sort of conundrum?
Yeah. So oftentimes it comes down to deciding who is going to be the point person on their social media. So that comes to having a conversation and thinking about, do I have someone in-house who does have the capacity to take on our social media, but maybe needs more guidance or strategy from a consultant? Or are we just so strapped and don't have the bandwidth right now to focus on social media that we need to bring someone else in to support us with that? So really being able to think about where your time availability stands and the resources that you have available is really important, because it's something that people often push to the bottom of their to-do list, but it's something that really needs to be prioritized from day one.
Absolutely. And this is a part of the systems and processes that you need to be making within the structure of your business model. I mean, if you don't have these there, you're going to quickly burn out, whether you're a solopreneur, small business owner, or medium business owner even. You wind up getting trapped on that hamster wheel otherwise.
Absolutely.
And when you've got the systems, the person who you appoint can actually just go through and do the things that need to be done on repeat, really.
Totally. Yeah. And being able to have that dedicated person ensures that not only it gets done, but also, too, I find that when a client hires someone externally, that person usually has broader ideas or insights that the client themselves might not have themselves, or they might not even be thinking about. Like, I feel like all of us marketing people have had several conversations with clients before where we share an idea or something, and a client's like, I would have never even thought of that. And so I think as business owners, when you're so stuck in the weeds and stuck in the day to day, sometimes it can be really hard to take a step back and have that bird's eye view and have like these bigger picture ideas. But someone who's an expert in this, who isn't so, I guess, biased really to your business, can come in with those fresh ideas and have perspectives that you wouldn't have had yourself otherwise.
Absolutely. I often talk to people about how, like, you are a part of the whole. You are a part of
Yes.
the cookie dough or the jam or whatever you want to say, and you can't really read the label that's on the outside. So you're just sitting there floating in. It's really hard to take a step back and say, "Oh, so those are the different pieces that I can leverage in order to really make myself not only visible, not only the brand awareness bit, but and the conversion and all that. Not only that, but like to make it actually fit with who you are and who your brand is and how
Mhm.
your team functions in the back end."
Yeah.
I think that that's something that's often missed. I mean, we've already talked a little bit about the systems, the processes, and the team that that is really needed to execute, but that inner stuff has to be accounted for too. And that's not just within yourself, but also within your business and all the moving pieces of what does it feel like to function within your business or within your own skin while trying to execute on all of these different aspects of really running a business? How do
Mhm.
you what are your opinions on that? Because I mean, I have to tell you, most of my clients are micro business owners or solo business owners, right? They are literally doing all the things
Mhm.
and having the motivation to get these things done when you're borderline burnt out can be a huge struggle. So how would you propose like balancing, and I hesitate to even say balancing, but finding harmony between executing on the tactical practical end of things and also making sure that we're honoring ourselves, our lifestyle, the needs that we have as individuals and as teams?
Yeah, totally. So when a business owner is managing their own marketing efforts, I am a huge advocate for batching. I think really batching is honestly quite essential because as a business owner, you don't always know what every day is going to look like. So if you say, well, I'll just draft a social media post day of, chances are you won't do that. And the next thing you know, 3 months will go by and nothing has been posted because you've been so busy. And so I think one of the most important things you can do is treat yourself as a client. Like literally pencil it into your calendar. Make sure that you're giving the same time and devotion to yourself as you are giving to the clients and customers that you serve. And so for batching, it could be as simple as maybe dedicating a few hours on one morning each week to your marketing, or maybe it's dedicating a whole day 1 month to your marketing. But being able to just carve out that time and take the space that you need to build out your social media, your blogs, your email newsletters, and whatnot is huge. And then that way it's out of sight, out of mind. You know, you've already done it throughout the next month and you don't have to worry about it again. But I think you really just have to ultimately be disciplined with yourself and with your schedule and make sure that you do carve out the space that you need in order to make it happen.
Absolutely. And now batching can be kind of a funny topic, I find. I've had a lot of people who have batched like a week in advance or 2 weeks in advance or a month in advance. But I've also had people who have attempted to batch like a quarter or more in advance. So what would you say your opinions are on all these different options? We're going to call them
Yeah.
options.
I love that question. And I say that honestly, it probably depends on the nature of your business. For example, I do work with a lot of venture backed tech startups, and they move so quickly that it's not feasible or possible to plan that far in advance because things are always changing and launching and developing. And it's really hard to plan in advance and have content still be relevant and accurate at a point in the future. And so if your business is of the same nature where things are constantly changing, growing, doing new things, it might not be possible for you to look further ahead. in that case, I would say it might be better to focus on the weekly or bi-weekly planning that you're focusing on, so that way you can account for those timely last minute things. But regardless of whether your business moves quickly or it doesn't, I think it is still important as you're batching to account for those last minute timely pieces of content that you want to make sure that you get up. For example, if you're on a podcast like this and you get an email one day that the episode goes live, you don't want to wait 3 months to promote that episode. You want to be able to have flexibility within your schedule to promote it sooner rather than later. So I think it kind of, even if you are batching, there does kind of have some flexible component to it to add things in as they come through. But ultimately, it really comes down to coming up with a schedule that makes the most sense for what you're offering.
That is a perfect answer, and I love it to bits. And the other part of that is the idea that you never know what's going to happen around you. So if you're wanting to stay relevant in an ever-changing world, regardless of your niche, you're going to want to make sure that you're accounting for the changes that may or may not happen. People in 2020 had to scrap their entire content marketing strategy when the world locked down.
Yes.
So we need to be aware of the fact that these changes can and will happen, and it will probably be at the most inconvenient time. So having a flexible strategy that is consistent, that makes a difference. I'm all about how, I've got my evergreen content that I can consistently create for myself and my clients, and we could plan that out probably a couple of months in advance, give or take. But I don't plan the whole thing. There are so many pieces that we do in between that is that relevant and ever-changing content, things that are going. When my clients as solopreneurs, and they are their business's brand, right? It's a personal brand. If they've gone to an event, I want them to take a selfie and post that they went to the event. Yeah. Who did I meet? Let's tag them. That makes a difference. And if you don't have that flexibility in your posting schedule, then, you're going to feel kind of funny putting it out there. It'll feel lopsided, and you don't want that. Yeah. You want it to always feel like it's in harmony and in flow.
Totally. And also going along with that too, I think we all have had times where we're driving in the car or in the shower, or making dinner, and we are like, oh my gosh, this is such a good social post idea. And it comes to us. And I'm a big advocate for acting on those creative ideas as soon as they come to you. I firmly believe that you produce the best content when you feel excited and inspired and creative to do so. And so if you get this random idea that you're like, oh, this is perfect, like act on it and add it in. Don't wait 3 months to write that post, because it's not going to have the same energy come through as what you're feeling in the moment.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And that's it's funny because people will hesitate. And I want to kind of touch on that a little bit here, because no matter whether you have a team or whether you're a solopreneur, the way the energy that you bring forth matters. And so what that means is that there's an underlying part of marketing that we don't talk about enough. And that is the inner work. That is the, how do I feel today? How have I nurtured myself in a way that will allow for, I'm going to get a little bit woo here, but that will allow my frequency, my inner frequency, to rise, so that I am in a space of creativity, of exploration and willingness to be flexible and engaging. How can I nurture myself in a way that will allow me to enter into that space and, in my humble opinion, attract the people who are at that same high level frequency as you are, so that you can work with your dream clients and really dive into the geekdom, like I like to call it. Totally. What are your views on that? Where do you come from?
Yeah. So I would say it really comes down to probably what I was mentioning earlier, is like creating content for yourself during those moments where you feel really inspired. I think if you're sitting down at your desk and forcing yourself to create content when you feel exhausted, burnt out, stressed, anxious, you're not going to produce great content. And so when you are in the flow and feeling really great about things, that's when I would recommend allocating that time to being able to create content too. I also say it's best to remove your own what's the word that I want to use? I guess judgments of yourself from the content. I think a lot of times people create content and they're like, this sounds stupid. No one's going to want to read this. Or they're so like critical of themselves. And it's like, if you remove that feeling from the equation, no one else is going to feel that way. Like no one is going to read your content and feel the way that you do. I think sometimes we're our own worst critics. And so just showing up from a place of inspiration and excitement and creativity, rather than being so hard on yourself, I think that's what really matters the most.
Oh, I love it. And this is something that I bring up at almost all of my intro calls for anybody who wants to be on this show, as I talk about this one aspect of marketing. And that is when you're marketing to yourself, because you're not always going to feel motivated or inspired. You may go long periods of time when you don't have pleasant thoughts in the shower or on your drive home. And that can be hard. That can be a huge challenge. But there are a lot of ways that you can use marketing to improve that state of being. And what I always say is like, okay, you've put on your slippers or whatever, you've shuffled your feet to the bathroom in the morning. You look in the mirror, what are you saying? Are you like, oh, her? Or are you like, hey, like you don't have to be awake and bubbly, but like give yourself a high five in the mirror, do something, right? One of my favorites is the Superman pose. Stand there. You don't need to necessarily feel it within your body, feeling empowered or anything. Just stand there like that. The psychology and neuroscience will do the work for you. You'll elevate yourself, and then you'll be able to enter into those creative spaces a lot more freely. And this is something too, like this is something that I always preach. Ashley, I'm sure that you're in the same type of space. If you're playing a supportive role to a team of marketing professionals, whether it's a small team or whether it's one appointed member of your team who's handling the marketing, they also need to be empowered to get into that space as well.
Yeah.
And so as a leader, we need to model that, and we need to really encourage that sort of mental flexibility to allow yourself to get into those spaces. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe a circumstance where you've had to really play that consultative role and get people inspired to create when they're really feeling like they're in a slump?
Yeah. So I am a big numbers person. And I think that when you're working with people who are also numbers people, that being able to show them the data and show them the impact of their marketing, I think that provides a lot of inspiration. Where if you show them the amount of followers that they're gaining month after month because of their content, or the content that's just totally skyrocketing in performance, I think that's a huge motivation where it's like, hey, this is working. You're making a difference. You're adding value to your audience. I think being able to directly see the impact that it's having can kind of nudge people a little bit to kind of kick their butt into gear and focus on creating more content. Because when you can kind of see the direct impact and you know that it's coming right from you and what you're doing, I think it makes it that much easier to find some motivation to continue the work.
Oh, that's beautiful. And what's really cool about that is that we're bringing this forth in a way that is really meaningful and trackable. This is quantitative. This is trackable, and you're able to make changes and alterations as you go to make sure that it continues to improve. This is also something that a lot of you guys are forgetting to do. I'm just going to call it out, right? That's the elephant in the room. A lot of you are not looking at your numbers. You're not looking at your analytics. I mean, and I'm not talking about the vanity metrics necessarily, although that can be a good motivator when you get a certain number of likes and all that jazz. I'm really talking about like your KPIs and how it performs in the long run. So this is your little call to action to look at your numbers. But also remember that can be like a huge motivator. I sent a screenshot message to one of my clients the other day saying, look at this 1,300% growth in your whatever it was. And she responded like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. The other thing is too, things like if you see somebody comment on something, read and reply to the comment, especially when it's something like, I love the ones that say, this really meant something to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That can really empower people as well. And understanding that you can get to that point, even if you haven't necessarily gotten there yet, you can get to that point with consistent, intentional, aligned action. That literally is world changing, even if it's just one person's world at a time.
Yeah, I agree fully.
Oh my goodness. Now we've covered like everything from tactical, practical, the numbers, the inside fluffy stuff. We've talked about woo things. And this is the cool thing about social media and marketing, is that it really does touch on so many different areas of our humanity, of who we are and how we function in this world. So we could quite literally talk about it all day from all manner of angles. But we don't have all day. So instead, I'm going to ask of you, Ashley, is to think for a moment. What is one thing out of all of the innumerable things that we could talk about today? What is one thing that you would like to tell the people who have joined us for this conversation today in order to empower, motivate, take action on? It can be an action item, some sort of gold nugget, the cherry on top. There's one thing that you can tell people. I'm going to give you a second to think about it, because I know that's a heavy, heavy question. And there's a lot wait, you know what? No, there's not. There's no pressure. Just think about it. And in the meantime, I'm going to remind everybody here that we have conversations like this every single week. So make sure that you hit the bell, subscribe, leave a comment, for crying out loud, share it with your friends. You want to know when the next conversation comes out so you can be a part of it. So you can fuel this beautiful fire we're creating, thinking differently about marketing and how we're showing up in the world, and the amazing difference that we can make by working together and continuing these types of conversations. So again, subscribe, give us your 2 cents, because what you have to say matters. With that, I'm going to get off my soapbox. And Ashley, please tell the people what they need to hear.
Yeah, my favorite tip is to make sure that you're closely paying attention to the conversations that you're having with current clients and customers or potential clients and customers. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, how there can be some difficulty with thinking of ideas for your content. I think that the people that you speak with every single day can share some really good pieces of ideas and conversations that can turn into social media posts. So whether it's questions that they're having or problems that they're thinking about, make sure you're taking stock of that and then turn those questions and problems into content ideas. And then not only do you have content to write, but you're also ensuring that you're focusing on providing value to your audience, because you heard directly from them what they need your help and support with.
Absolutely amazing. Now I have so many thoughts on that one, but I want you to tell people where they can get in touch with you.
Of course. So in the show notes and in the QR code below, you can find my website, which is dashofsocial.com. And scanning that QR code will bring you directly to my website, where you can grab my free resource on 10 marketing strategies to scale your startup or business.
Man, oh man, this woman. If you haven't already, check out this resource, because it is absolutely mind-blowing and it will change the way you approach your business. The link is also in the show notes. I need to tell you all how absolutely blown away I am by this conversation, and how I really want you all to take action in contributing to what we have to say, because that last tip, again, I'm not going to keep you here all day. Don't worry. It's okay. I'm not going to keep you here. That was literal gold. Without saying the words market research, which can scare people to bits and pieces, that's what Ashley's telling us. It's the market research. It's the listening. It's the taking a minute. I know you don't feel like you've got a minute, but that is what literally will change the way you approach all of your marketing. Listen to the people who need your services the most and provide them with what they need, what they think they need, especially. I am at a loss for words, because that is literally just the solution to all of the quandaries that you've had in your mind. Ask more questions about market research so that Ashley and I can answer them. You can reach me definitely anytime. You know where to find me. I'm right here. Give me a comment and I will be right there with you. With that, Ashley, thank you so much for everything that you've given us today. I've already come up with a blog. That's a conversation with me. So thank you so much. This is absolutely superb. Thank you again. Everybody, have a great rest of your day and join us for the next episode next week. We will be chatting soon.